anymore. So, books. Last night I was getting ready and it felt like it had been a while, and I remember we didn't have classes last week, so we're trying to get back to the new normal. And thinking about that, have you ever been called old-fashioned? Because you attend the Church of Christ. Not old-fashioned about religion. You've been called conservative, haven't you? Okay. When someone tells you this is the new norm or the new normal, what are they thinking? If someone says this is the new norm or the new normal, or something shifted, thoughts, political power, or anything, modern, updated. We're studying the lesson number 2 about Cain and Abel. Sadly, Cain killed Abel. And my thought on that was, not before last in Springfield, there was a shooting at Waffle House at 2:30 in the morning. Apparently 2 cars, maybe gang related, we don't know. But they were shooting each other, trying to kill each other. And I was thinking, this has become the new norm. Before we both walked out of the house a minute ago, someone else was shot on some street in Nashville last night, I think. And it just, to people that are normal, especially Christians, this is disturbing. This is not the new norm. People say it's just an alternate lifestyle. No, it's still sin. It's not the new norm. And I think it's one thing that as we move into the new year, 2018, which even sounds strange, saying, watch out for these people that think this is just a new norm and that we need to change. The Word of God will never change. And I think that's one thing that members of the Church of Christ need to hold on to more and more, because we're the only ones that are holding on to the Word of God. Everybody else has given it up for acceptance of sin. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Another thing I heard was, maybe a week or 2 ago, it was going before some vote, maybe around a football stadium or something, but they were trying to extend the time, I think, of the day on Sunday that you could buy wine. Because right now I think there's a limit that apparently you can't buy wine after you've been down on Saturday night or 2 in the morning or something till like 12 noon Sunday afternoon. What difference does that make? I mean, I just kind of ran a little bit today because it's not the new norm. It's still sin. We're not acceptable of it. God will not be acceptable of it. That's the key. It's not what I think and what I feel, what you think and you feel. It's what God's will is. And talking about Cain and Abel, it's washed right over into today's society. There's nobody, seems like nobody cares about human life. And I want to look, when we look at the lesson and look through here, God was not pleased with Cain, after he killed Abel. He wasn't pleased with Cain even before that. And some of the author of the book has it kind of leads into the story a little bit about his attitude. What was Cain's attitude toward God? And a lot of times I think there's one of the little questions about, can't even see it, I put my glasses on today, so this may be a bad class, about the way of Cain. And it's kind of what the way we've become, the society we live in now. There's no respect for life, it seems like. And sadly, that's the world we live in. Sandra, if you will, read paragraph number 1 for us.
Cain and Abel were apparently the first 2 brothers on earth. They were children of Adam and Eve. They had 2 different occupations. Cain was a farmer and Abel was a shepherd. They were reared in the same home and taught by the same parents. They grew up together, but they were different in personality, character, and attitude toward God. One is an example of faithfulness, loyalty, and obedience to God, while the other is an example of jealousy, wrath, murder, and falsehood.
That's one statement there. Do you know of any families that had two brothers or two sisters even that were raised, you thought, exactly the same and turned out totally different? We know a couple of, probably each one of us can name a couple of people we grew up with that a pair of brothers or a pair of sisters grew up, raised in the same household, and turned out totally different. We see that, and we know that those that are doing right before God, we're thankful for those, and those that are doing evil, we pray that they repent. But they were raised the same way. They were told the same things. Here in the first family of time, there were problems. Obviously, both had heard truth from Adam and Eve. Both had believed everything they'd learned from the time they were a child up to the time they were worshiping God. Eric, if you don't mind, read paragraph number 2 for us.
Cain was a farmer by occupation, growing up in fruity ground. So this was rejected because it was the wrong kind of offering, because it was the wrong disposition offering. We are not told. It is quite likely that both are true. He murdered his brother and gave no evidence of repentance. He fled to Lebanon and there built a city. Descendants included Jubal, the forefather of musicians, Tubal, Cain, the father of Smiths and Lamech, the man of violence. His wife was to have been his own sister, not in the proper marriage. In those days, are another relative.
Okay. Second paragraph goes a little bit more into Cain dealing with his attitude. And I think that's one of the things today. We may not be angry enough with our brother to rise up in the field and kill him, but if you don't love someone enough to tell them the truth, enough to ask them to go to worship, it's said that you hate your brother. We've got to love everyone, especially I think it starts at home. We've got more opportunity to start with our friends and our own families first. They see us. They know if we're hypocrites or not. They know if we are telling the truth, talking the truth, talking the walk, walking the talk, whatever. They know that we're trying to make it. And they see through it a lot of times. We need to be on guard that we're living as righteously as we can. We need to be like Abel. One of the key words we're going to get into is acceptable. I think here in a few minutes, I don't know. Can't see my notes. But acceptable worship to God. And it carries on today. From the very beginning, there was worship to God. And there was two kinds of worship, acceptable and unacceptable. Righteous and unrighteous is one of the words that the author uses, I know. What is righteousness before God? Righteousness. What's the key word? Right. Righteousness, right. Being right before God. That's what we should all be striving for. Hopefully we are. The righteousness, later on in this book, we're going to talk about the Enoch and Noah and Abraham, several others, and their righteousness and their faithfulness explained in detail, kind of what we're talking about here with Abel. If you look at the third paragraph, he gets into several more verses, I guess, talking about, on the other hand, Cain being firstborn and Abel the second. He points out that he was murdered by his brother in Genesis 4. He was a keeper of sheep, Abel was. But Cain, a tiller of the ground. Verse 2 of chapter 4. Farmer, tiller of the ground. Worked with his hands, obviously. On the other hand, Abel was the shepherd, raising sheep, cattle, whatever. Did these two people have to work together? What did the sheep and cattle need? the same thing. And they're working side by side, obviously, when Cain killed Abel. I was thinking about that the other day. Many times we work side by side with someone, and they don't know where we are religiously, especially if we're not local, talking about church, talking about religion, talking about the Bible, talking about God. Many times we'll go to work 10, 12 years with someone and never know what they do religiously. People not care. Hopefully, we're living the type of life they'll look at us and say, well, you're happy about this, you're happy about this. Why? What hope do you have? And then we give an answer. That's what we're looking for. But let's don't be, people talk about being a Christian in secret. You're not going to be a secret Christian. We're going to be a Christian, period, and be out there and be going out and looking for opportunities. But you kind of came across a little funny that to me, Cain killed Abel, but they were in business with each other, if you think about it. They needed each other. I'm going to add to it a little bit to the paragraph there, the second one, about his attitude toward worship. Do you think this was the first time that ever worshiped God? When Cain's offering was unacceptable? Think not. You probably, by the reaction, they worshiped together correctly before. We're not given, the number of times maybe, but you can, see that if he traded some of his food for some of the flock for the sacrifice, working together with his brother, they could have been righteous before God together. God never requires us to do something we can't, especially worship what we can't provide. I was thinking about this, not only working together, but being reliant on each other. But he changed. I'm going to play the new norm card again. He thought it was okay in his own heart to worship with the best of his field, the best of the ground. Obviously not what God had commanded. Arnold, if you will, go ahead and read the about halfway through the third paragraph, and Rob, if you will finish up the second half of the third paragraph today.
Abel was having sex with his mother Cain. Abel was a keeper of sheep. Cain was the Lord of the ground. Abel was described as a righteous man. He offered to God a lamb on his flock, which was accepted. For Cain's sacrifice was rejected. I had then because Cain and Abel were kind of sacrifice offered. Abel's offering was not faith. Based on my hearing, extreme my word of God.
God had evidently told Cain and Abel that he would accept only a sacrifice involving the shedding of blood, which would represent the blood of Christ to be shed 4,000 years after that time. Cain, choosing to be wise about what God had said, defiantly disregarded God's law and did as he pleased. His sacrifice was not acceptable to God, and Abel's sacrifice is called a sacrifice of faith, and he is listed among the heroes of faith, Hebrews 11. Cain's works were evil and his brother's righteous, 1 John 3:12.
Okay, thank you. So, by faith, then he goes into what verse we're very familiar with in Romans 10:17. Faith cometh by hearing, hearing by the word of God.
That's an evil. Most of the religious world doesn't see it. Worship God unacceptable as true.
And that was another thing I was thinking about, enhancements to worship. Choirs, music. You go down the road this way, and they've got a praise group. And they're a singing choir that sings in front of the people. And I know one of the persons that used to be in it, the comment was made that she enjoyed it a lot performing for the congregation. What's wrong with that? Should we number one, we should enjoy worship, true. But what's the purpose? We're there to worship God. And if God says, for each one of us to sing the melody in our heart, and we're letting someone else do it, we need to be very, very careful. We can be very, very sinful in a lot of ways very quickly. Because, like we said before, once you give up on any of the truth, it all falls down. And I think that, you're right. The religious world today doesn't look at that way. The religious world today says, let's do what makes the most people happy. Let's fill the pews regardless of what the truth says. They don't say that out loud, but that's what they're living by. The righteousness of Abel from Matthew, flip over there real quick. We'll read that verse together. Matthew 23. Now that I can see my Bible a little bit. Matthew 23, verse 35. Whoever gets that verse, go ahead and read that for us. Yes.
That upon him may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, the blood of righteousness, able to be the blood of Zechariah, son of Archelaus, whom he slew between the temple and God.
If you notice, that's in red, the words of Christ. And quickly, if you look over, you probably got it. You hypocrites. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, is listed here several times in chapter 23 of Matthew, where Christ himself is pointing out these things that they had done. And from basically the blood of Abel all the way up into Zechariah, whom you slew between the temple and the altar.
I got to a little more fully. The righteous blood on whom may come all the righteous blood.
Verse 34, wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets and wise men and scribes, and some of them you shall kill and crucify. And some of them you shall scourge in your synagogues and persecute them from city to city. Basically, Christ telling these scribes and Pharisees what they were going to do to their own the prophets of God. And basically, their blood was upon them, I think, is the exact meaning, the teaching here.
The person teaches you the truth, and you oppose it and turn it down, then the blood of others comes upon your own soul, because you will have an evil effect on someone who will listen to what you do.
Being responsible for leading others away. Yes, I think you're exactly right. Here in this case, I mean, I was kind of thinking about when Jesus said I took the blood of Zechariah, son of Robertson, whom you slew between the temple and the altar. Was that a secret thing? Do you think they knew exactly what Jesus was talking about there? Whom ye slew. Think about that phrase. They had a part of it. Later on, we're going to see Saul of Tarsus taking part in crucifying or persecuting the church. Had the same attitude, basically, as described in the Pharisees here, rejecting Christ, and was going about persecuting Christians. And we know that he had to change to be righteous before God. That he was unrighteous and unacceptable. I think we can quickly say those two words together. Unrighteous and unacceptable worship to God will damn our souls. Again, Abel being a righteous man, this is here remembered by Jesus as he taught here in the New Testament. By faith, Hebrews chapter 11, we know that is the chapter of the faithful. I think sometimes we call it the Hall of Fame for faith. Abel was listed there with them, all of what we consider the great men and women, I guess, of the Old Testament, as a record of their faith. Having never seen Christ, they still believed he was coming. And I think it's interesting if you think about the blood sacrifice that was required in the Old Testament. It was required up until Jesus died. And that sacrifice, we always talk about washing both directions, backward and forward, the blood of Christ. Animal sacrifice stopped then. That's why we don't have, we joke about it, but that's why we don't have our red heifer out back. That's why we don't go out and collect ox blood and different things and burn different sacrifices. That law died at the cross. And we need to make it as clear as we can that we do believe the Bible and we're following the best we can. Any comments about what was said here so far? I know I rambled quite a bit.
The reference is second Chronicles 24, verse 1. Zechariah's pew. I think it's interesting when I read that down there, verse 21. They killed him at the commandment of the king. They stoned him with stones at the commandment of the king in the court of the house of the Lord. Have you ever noticed that without leadership, don't go anymore?
Without leadership.
Somebody's got to take the lead on.
Take the lead.
Somebody's got to take the lead and teach the truth. Somebody's got to take the lead and hear it if it's going to go. That's just a thought of mine.
Again, sending prophets of God, the Spirit of God was with him, conspired against him, stoning with stones. At the commandment of the king in the court of the house of the Lord, Joash the king remembered not the kindness which Jeroboam his father had done to him and slew his son. There he died. He said, the Lord would upon it and require it. Kind of a sad reading if you think about it. Disobeying God, killing your own family. Several things there went wrong quickly. Another word there that I've got kind of highlighted is disregarding God's law. Defiantly disregarded. What is the word defiant? What do you think of when someone says they're very defiant? What do you think of?
What?
Defiant? Defiant. I'm going to be saying it wrong. When you defy something. Disobedient. Rejected. Defy. Yes.
I can't hear nothing. I got my ears on, but I still can't hear.
You can't hear and I can't see, so we're a good pair. Defiant. Disregard. Knowing the truth. I think in the church, many times we know the truth, but we need to make sure we're acting on it. If we know to do good and do it not, we know it's sin. That's going to catch a lot of us in judgment if we're not careful. Because we've seen things and we know things are righteous and we know things are good, but we don't put our mind to it, we don't put our back to it, and we don't work on it. We need to be very careful that we don't slip into that. Maybe not blatantly rejecting the truth, but disregarding God's laws. Be very careful. Number one, down at the bottom, quickly we'll go through these. Who was the firstborn in the world? Who were the first two children listed? Adam and Eve. Cain and Abel. Two sons. If you look back, it talks about I think it's verse, chapter 4, 2 verses apart, maybe. Adam knew his wife Eve, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. And she again bare his brother Abel. And Abel was keeper of sheep, and Cain was keeper of the ground. And in the process of time came to pass that Cain brought forth the fruit of the ground and offering unto the Lord. And Abel, he also brought forth the firstlings of his flock, and the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel, and to his offering. Key there, I think, like the author picked out here, Abel and his offering. Abel was righteous before God, and his offering was right before God. But, verse 5, like Cain and his offering, he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. The Lord said to Cain, Why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. And Cain talked with Abel his brother. And it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother, and slew him. Verse 8. Cain talked with his brother. We're not told what they talked about, but we can assume quite a bit of it was what was acceptable before God and what wasn't. And then we get the very next verse, verse 9, one of the more famous quotes from the Bible. And the Lord said to Cain, Where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, What hast thou done? God speaking. The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed of the earth, and hast opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield to thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. A fugitive and a vagabond. This is God speaking. We talk about how sad that is. What about the day of judgment when he says, Depart from me, I never knew you? More so. More telling, but still very, very truthful teachings. It's going to come if we're not righteous. Number 2, what occupations for Cain and Abel? We talked about farmer and shepherd, being raised in the same family but different occupations, you might say. Did Adam and Eve have other children? Yes, in Genesis chapter 5, verse 4. In the days of Adam, after he had begotten Seth for 800 years, he begot sons and daughters. If you look through the genealogies of Adam and all the way up to the building of the ark, there are several references to sons and daughters, sons and daughters. One of the questions here we're going to get into is about where they got their wives. There's some conversation, I guess, going on that I think back several years ago, if you come to the Church of Christ, you'll be taught that incest is okay. And that's not true. That's one of the, I guess, the ploys of Satan or sinful people, trying to loosen our beliefs in the Word of God. Sons and daughters, I think one of the words that the author uses, Dehop, is it was not impropriety in those days to have my sister as a wife. Another thing that happened that changed at the flood, if you think about one of the things God says, I'll not always strive with man. My spirit will not always strive with man. He stays to 120 years of age. All of a sudden, these people that were living almost 800, 700 years plus, was their life short. And at flood, things changed. And now we don't. Now we're lucky if we get 70. So things have changed. Does anyone have an issue with Cain and his wife that you know of? It's one of those odd questions that you probably get. Very similar to the type of question we get whenever if someone's on the way to the church building and they die in a car wreck and they're going to be baptized, are they saved or not? Were they baptized, yes or no? Sadly, if that was the only opportunity they had, it's up to God. I'm sorry. The Bible doesn't say that on the way to the building you can get killed to be saved. And I don't think God would make an exception for anybody, regardless of who it is.
We don't know how many people were on the earth at this time as far as their children were concerned. It's kind of interesting to know when you talk about Cain. You're talking about him being a fugitive and a vagabond. It said that there were going to be people who were seeking to kill him. And God said that anybody that kills Cain would be the recompense or the vengeance would be sevenfold. So evidently, he said Cain said, this is too much for me. People will be trying to kill me all the time. And so, evidently, there were numerous people as far as family there or something, I don't know.
That's one of the things that I think people we're not told. It's not clear, obviously. Right there is verse 16 of chapter 4. Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and walked the land of Nod on the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch. And he built the city and called the name of the city after his son Enoch.
See, verse 14 there at the end, it says, it came past that everyone that findeth thee shall slay thee. So evidently
more than just 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so that's reference there that the population had already started to grow.
We don't know the exact ages or how much time frame was elapsed between, Cain and Abel and the number of children and all that involved in this particular situation. They were the first born.
Yeah, some of the phrases in chapter 6, when we get up to the building of the ark later on in this book, some of the phrases you describe mankind are very, I think, telling as they multiplied, sons and daughters, who they were told to, pick and choose as they grew, but their hearts were on evil continually. They repented God. We'll talk about that later on. How do we know that Cain and Abel had been commanded to offer animal sacrifices? I left that question blank. I didn't find any verse that said, "Thou shalt offer blood sacrifice."
Romans 10:17.
Okay. Faith comes by hearing by the word of God. They were told. That's the parallels that we get. God's not going to expect us to worship in a way that He didn't tell us. He's not going to expect us to live in a way that He didn't tell us. It's not going to be a surprise, and I don't think it's a surprise here when Cain's offering was not accepted. I think he knew he would step outside. And his attitude, am I my brother's keeper? I mean, you kind of see there that his heart wasn't there, wasn't with God. Number 5, it says, how do we know that Cain did evil in offering the fruits of the field? Verse 7, it said God rejected it, had not respect for it. How do we get faith? Rob just answered that. The book of Romans. Faith coming by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. At that time, the word that God spoke. Some of the verses that I was reading there, every time I think about it, it's if the words of Jesus was in red, what should the words of God be in? Like when God said, "This is my beloved Son, hear ye Him." I don't know if you put highlighter around it or what, but it's important that we know that that was God speaking. Again, chapter 11 of Hebrews, verse 4, he offered it in faith. Is worship to please God or to please man? Verse 8, or question 8, rather. Galatians 1:10. Let's step over there. Bob, if you will get Galatians 1, verse 10. And Roy, if you will get Hebrews 13:16. And Miss Pat, if you will get 1 Samuel 15:23 and 24. Or 22 and 23. Yes, Galatians 1:10.
For do I now persuade men of God? Or do I now persuade men of God? Or do I seek to please men? Or if I yet to please men, I should not be the servant of Christ.
Okay. Paul, to the church of Galatia, we're not to be pleasing the man, we're to please God. And men should, in theory, get in line with us. When we bring others into the congregation, they should believe, teach, practice the same thing we believe, teach, and practice. But we get it from the Word of God, not from our handbook or our manual or our things and our feelings. From the Word of God. Hebrews 13:16. Boy.
But do good and communicate with it not. Such sacrifices God is willing to do.
Sacrifice.
we just talked.
No. You got to sacrifice, give. And I think a lot of times in the Old Testament, a lot of the sacrifices, we read those and we read chapter after chapter of how they were to do certain things. It wasn't easy to make sacrifice in the Old Testament. I think today our giving, a lot of times we take it far too lightly, if you will. Are we truly giving in a way that was pleasing to God, or are we just throwing a little bit in on Sunday morning?
Are the people today that forget to communicate to God the Lord's will?
Sure.
That's great.
There's the majority of people forget that Sunday is the Lord's day.
Yeah.
What does 1 Samuel 15, 22 and 23 say?
And Samuel said, hath the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifice, as in a land the voice of the Lord. Behold, the ladies better than sacrifice, and the harvest than that remains. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and adultery. Because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, he hath also rejected thee from the king.
It's a great lesson right there. He told them on those sacrifices. They brought the sacrifice. They didn't do it. They brought the sacrifice. He told them.
The words obedience and obey, righteousness versus disobedience, unrighteous, unfaithful.
God tells you don't sacrifice. Whatever God tells you to do, you don't try to improve His or change His commandments.
And that's kind of what I started with this morning. The new norm is not the new norm. It's still sin. God's law was always God's law. It'll never change. Last verse for today, and I'm going to jump down to Jude 11. It says, woe to them, for they have gone the way of Cain, and ran greedily after the error of Balaam for reward, and perished in the gainsaying of Korah. Toward the end of the New Testament, Jude, writing this, pointing out that there was error, and the way of Cain ran greedily after the error, running greedily after error, rushing into sin, rushing into disobedience. And we see it around us every day, sadly. Kind of what bothered me this morning, I guess, thinking about the people that we're talking about Cain killing Abel, and there's people today still killing people. It's still going on, and it's still wrong. I'll stop there. Quit rambling for a few minutes, and Lord willing, we'll pick up next time with lesson 3. Thank you very much for your attendance.